everyone. Welcome to the Viridian News Sports Podcast.
Today we'll be talking about the SEC football.
First of all, I want to thank everyone for joining us to this episode.
Today's episode title is called The Southeast, SEC Football.
We will be talking about teams, injuries, quarterback battle, expectations, predictions, home field game advantages, Alabama.
I'm Ty, and I'm joined by Drew and Cassidy.
Today, I want to give a special thank you to Silver Sky Woodworking for sponsoring today's episode. For more information, please visit the Viridian News website and look in the top right corner. After last month's episode, are y'all feeling confident about the SEC this year?
I'm feeling pretty confident about it.
I'm feeling really confident too if these teams keep up with their winnings and what certain teams are going to make the championship. I think we'll have a really good chance.
I feel like it's going to be a really weird year, very sporadic, and no one's going to know what's going on. Definitely one to keep an eye on.
Who do you guys think will win the SEC championship?
I think Alabama will win or Georgia, but I think the top four are going to be Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Texas, and
Based on the first 4 weeks, I think Georgia will play LSU in the championship game, just like last year where Georgia blew out LSU. I think it'll be very similar. I think Georgia will win the SEC championship again this year, finishing the 13-0 season and winning the SEC championship 33-24.
I think Georgia has a pretty good chance of making it to the championship game.
So, with all the Alabama controversy, with their quarterback, with their everything, who do you think will start for the rest of the season?
I think it'll either be Tyler Buckner or Ty Simpson.
I feel like all the QBs are not great. That's my personal opinion. But I think if you had to choose one, you would have to go with Jalen Milroe. He is the most experienced. He has one of the better arms in the SEC, and he can definitely run the ball. It's just that Alabama has to play to his play style if they want to succeed with him at quarterback. And looking at Simpson and Buckner's performances against South Florida, they look really bad. And I think it should be Jalen Milroe. But I wouldn't be surprised if they switched up the entire year.
I have to agree with you on that one, Drew. I think Milroe is a pretty good quarterback and could definitely take Alabama to the championship possibly.
So with Alabama already losing a game this year, it looks very out of place in the SEC. Do y'all think they still deserve a playoff spot if the college football playoff was today?
I think they do because even though their defense game is really weak, I feel like they can still fight and make a comeback.
I don't think so personally. I feel like they're kind of going on a downfall and they've already pretty much lost.
I feel like just because they lost to Texas at home, and it was a really good game, and now Texas is a top 4 team, I feel like they should not make it just because their defense is not as good. And once again, the quarterback situation is still very up in the air right now. And so I feel like they'll have to win a couple more games, especially against LSU and Tennessee, to even sniff a playoff spot.
What do you guys think will be the most exciting SEC game?
I think it'll be Alabama versus Mississippi State because even though Alabama has had a very rocky start, I feel that it'll still be an exciting game to see what happens.
I think it'll be a game involving Georgia, whether it be Georgia versus Ole Miss, two very high-powered offenses going at it, Georgia versus Tennessee, the pure hatred between the two teams in Tennessee this year. But a sleeper pick would definitely be Georgia versus Missouri. Missouri this year is already ranked. They've been very underrated the last couple of years, especially putting up a dogfight with Georgia up into the fourth quarter last year. I think Missouri could give Georgia a run for their money this year.
For me, I'm going to have to go with Ole Miss and Mississippi State. I feel like that would be a pretty exciting game overall.
So, since we talked about the most exciting game, what's going to be the most disappointing game?
I think it'll be against Tennessee and Kentucky.
For me, I'm going to have to go with Georgia versus Auburn. I feel like that will be a pretty disappointing game overall, just because Georgia has been playing pretty much nobodies at this point. So
I feel like it'll probably be Georgia versus Kentucky. Yes, they're both really good teams, and yes, Georgia is the number one team in the nation, according to the AP poll, and yes, Kentucky's also very good. But I don't think Kentucky shows up against Georgia, especially in Athens, in a night game. It's going to be very, very, very hard for Kentucky to compete with this Georgia team.
Who has the best quarterback in the SEC?
I feel like it has to be Jaden Daniels. He's amazing. He has the arm talent. He has the leg talent. And even though LSU lost to our game already, he played really, really good in that game. Not to mention, it was against the number 8 team at the time, which is now the number 3 team in the nation, Florida State. So his only competition would probably be KJ Jefferson or Carson Beck, maybe Devin Leary.
I think the best quarterback is KJ Jefferson. He just has really good plays overall, has a really good arm, and
I think it'll be Jaden Daniels with LSU because of his 372.3 yards per game.
Who has the best offense in the SEC?
Either Auburn or Georgia.
I think probably Tennessee, maybe.
I'm going to be biased here, and I'm going to say Georgia. Not just because they're my favorite team, but because they've been playing really well-ish, and they've been putting up a lot of points, and I think Carson Beck can really lead this team to a high offense.
Who do you guys think has the best defense?
I think it'll be either Vanderbilt or Ole Miss.
I'm going to say Georgia, not because they've been the best defense in college football, in my opinion, over the last 2 years, but also because they have a very, very good defensive coordinator. They have a very good defensive-minded head coach in Kirby Smart. And it's really hard to not have Georgia as a top 5 defense right now.
Yeah, Drew, I'm going to have to agree with you on that. Georgia does have a really good defense.
Do y'all think an SEC player can win the Heisman this year?
I think with the current standings, there's a very high chance of someone, a player winning the Heisman.
I feel like, as of right now, the only 2 people who can think about winning it are Jaden Daniels and Brock Bowers, maybe KJ Jefferson, like I mentioned. And like Ty mentioned, he makes really good plays, and he's very mobile, and he has the arm talent. But right now, it's only Jaden Daniels and Brock Bowers.
I agree with you, Drew. I feel like those players will be able to win it.
Do you think SEC team will make it to the playoffs?
I definitely do. I think Georgia will make it in, and if another team were to make it, it would probably be Ole Miss. Both the loss already coming. I don't think they can make it anymore. But if Georgia wins out, they'll definitely make the playoffs.
I agree with you in the Ole Miss because of their recent loss.
Me personally, I'm gonna have to go with Florida. They're pretty much an underdog, but I think they'll be able to make it to the playoffs.
So, a little bit of a personal question here. Were you guys impressed with Georgia's performance this Saturday, or were you let down?
I was very much let down. That performance was really, really bad.
Personally, I'm gonna have to go with impressed. I think with the score and the plays they made, they did pretty good.
I did not get to watch the Georgia game because I was at homecoming, but I followed it through, and I was a little disappointed because we gave up 21 points to UAB. That's just not really acceptable.
Do you guys think there will be any unexpected upsets this season?
I definitely do. I feel like Missouri can definitely upset a team or two. I feel like Vanderbilt could upset a team, and maybe even Florida upset another team.
I think Florida could upset a team or Vanderbilt.
With the current standings, I'm going to have to go with no. Something might change, but overall, I'm going to have to say no.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this month's podcast.
You can listen to our other podcast or read our other news articles on the Viridian News website.
Have a good day, everyone, and make sure to check out Silver Sky Co.
And always remember,
Go
go dogs.